Going live. And we're live. Yeah, so I don't do the whole live planning very good. I could probably do a lot better by like setting a time and communicating it and letting people know ahead of time. But I just kind of go live when I want to go live. I didn't do a live last week. Went through and did some traveling. Was able to go back home to Michigan, and it was the first time I've been back to Michigan in almost 10 years. So able to kind of get back to my home and hang out with the family and do the deal and just spend some time and lay low. So activity on YouTube and whatever else was pretty low, along with training. So the health piece or the health update piece that I'm talking about, for this live is I kind of wanted to talk what was going on with me. On July 1st, I had an airborne operation, right? So I'm active duty Army. I jumped from airplanes. I had a jump out of a UH-60. It was a helicopter. And it's my first jump in a couple of years, and came down pretty hard. And hit real hard, so immediately knew like something was not right. And was able to kind of collect myself and walk off the DZ, but have had significant like kind of pain and discomfort with my knee since then. And so initially went to like ER. The clinic did like an x-ray on my ankle and my knee, and looked like they found some bone chips and things like that in my ankle, but couldn't determine if it was new. They didn't do anything significant with the knee at the time because they said, well, all the bones are intact. We'll just refer you off to primary. So I've been doing the whole song and dance of, trying to get in to see my primary care physician and get kind of a better idea what's going on with the knee, which has been a bit of a game of like kind of cat and mouse, right? With all the whole like COVID thing. And it's just, everything is made more difficult by all the stuff that's been going on. So the process of getting seen, the process of, the initial kind of treatment, which was, hey, we're just going to give you some some Motrin and just hope that this works out. Went for like, a week or 10 days, doing that deal and just seeing how that would be. And the knee still hurts. So let's see, pop up chat. Make sure I can see when you guys are jumping in if anyone chats at me. So anyhow, the going through the whole deal of trying to figure things out, I was finally able to get in for an MRI. And because I had a feeling that whatever was going on with the knee was soft tissue damage. Obviously, X-ray is not gonna show that. I had thought that there's potential for like medial meniscus issue. So did the MRI, got the results. Turns out that I have a partial tear to my MCL. So that's the medial collateral ligament, MCL. And it's responsible, if you guys aren't familiar with anatomy, it's responsible for lateral stability on the knee, right? So not something that really bothers me if I don't do any like pivoting or hard cutting. As long as I stay fairly linear, it really doesn't bother me much. So I've been able to continue training fairly normally. What's up, Gary? Glad to see you, man. Thanks for jumping in. So I've been able to train fairly normally as this thing has kind of gone on. So the injury took place on July 1st, and I've just kind of carried on training. Never really experienced too much swelling or craziness with the knee, and just kind of sort of just rolled on. And I thought it was kind of wild because like I can feel the pain or I can feel the discomfort like literally every step of every day, right? So there isn't a moment in time when I'm moving around that I'm not aware something is wrong with the knee, but it's not enough to prevent me from kind of still doing things, right? So I've been able to squat, I've been able to deadlift, got up to a 765 double on deadlift, and actually made a stab at 800 plus deadlift. So I'll end up doing a video for the attempt over 800. But through all that activity, like it never really bothered the knee. And that makes sense, knowing now that it's the partial tear of the MCL. So what will happen from here? I have to. I actually have the number for ortho, so I have to get in touch with the ortho clinic. There's been an order for me to see them. So I don't know. I don't know what the ortho side of things is going to say things or say. It'll be a new doc, and they may have their own kind of approach. I'm certainly going to have to be going through some physical therapy. I think the hope will be, at least from the primary care physician, the hope will be that through physical therapy and just kind of rehab, that the MCL will heal and scar up and kind of correct itself to some degree. I would really like to stay away from surgery. That's I've gotten that T-shirt a couple times. I'm not a big fan. So really trying to avoid a surgical intervention, and I'm just hoping that I can kind of self-correct with some physical therapy. That whole process has changed my immediate flight path, because there were some events that were supposed to happen with me in the Army, in terms of some travel and things like that have now been kind of postponed. So I don't think that I'll be doing much maneuvering around or traveling for the better part of a year. So maybe sometime this time next year potentially, or maybe toward the end of the year. That's all kind of up in the air at this point, but it gives me time and space to be home and work with the knee and rehabilitate and try to get that back to normal. And so, kind of in keeping with the whole theme of the channel and everything that I try to demonstrate for every one of you, is just doing what I can, even in the face of having some limitations, some difficulty. So continuing to train, try to be smart and be safe about what it is that I'm doing, but still try to be as progressive and as forward leaning as I possibly can. It's actually kind of funny, because in working with the physical therapy, that doc really had not much to say to me. So I was asking, basically I laid out my whole training plan and what I've been doing and how I've been doing things and the types of considerations that I've been making for the knee to ensure that I'm at least being safe, or at least thoughtful of the knee. And the physical therapist really had nothing to provide for me, which I thought was kind of funny, because I think stereotypically, right, they're the ones that are telling somebody how to do things. Like, this is what you should do. You should do this exercise, this, and this. I want you to do these things. And they give them more of a prescription of activity. And that really didn't happen. He really just kind of sat there and was like, yeah, no, I don't disagree with anything you're doing. He's like, just keep doing what you're doing. And, I'll see you in about 2 weeks. Yeah, thanks, Gary. Trap strain, more rotator cuff tendonitis, rotator. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's tough. Like, working with shoulder stuff is bad too. Like, because the shoulder is the most mobile joint in the body, so that can be particularly frustrating to deal with. So I certainly understand how you may be feeling. But obviously, like, just doing what you can, right? Avoiding pain, continuing to work through range of motion, continuing to try to develop strength. That's kind of what I've been doing. So at least initially, when I first started squatting, I couldn't squat like real deep. And in fact, I gave myself, I was squatting to a box inside the power rack with the bar set real high. That way the movement was super controlled and a very limited range of motion. And then, like, kind of slowly but surely, I've increased the range of motion, and then also began to slowly march up the weight that I'm using to return to like more normal weight. And that's how I do things, right? So many of you will be going, have gone through injuries, or at some point in time will go through injuries. And the way that I've always addressed it and found success for myself is just trying to return back to full range of motion as best as I can. And then once I'm able to attain full range of motion, begin to slowly increase the load, so that I have this progression. And it's really the same type of progression that you get when you first start training. Yeah, so more than anything, I just kind of wanted to touch base on the knee, because I have talked about the knee a little bit. I've mentioned it in a few videos, and I've also mentioned it like on IG. So if you've seen my IG and you've kind of wondered like, hey, what's up with the knee? And because I've made comment about it not being normal, but I'm still doing like kind of normal things. I wanted to just real quick touch base and kind of explain what was happening, and then obviously that makes sense for what the injury is, for why I've been able to do the things that I've been able to do, even though I'm injured. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Didn't really want to do a super lengthy one. So we're sitting at about 10 minutes. You guys have to hit me if you have any questions, and I can kind of respond. So Gary says, still training well, though working around it. Great to hear you're working through it. Worst thing you can do is what doctors tell you, which is just do nothing but rest. I don't disagree. I feel like that is kind of an issue with doctors, is they very frequently err on the side of caution to a fault. And so I certainly understand a certain measure of caution and trying to not make things worse. But in my opinion, when you are injured, completely limiting range of motion and immobilizing something is one of the worst things you can do. Again, that's just my kind of opinion, because limiting the range of motion or limiting movement at all, you're not going to stimulate the lymphatic system. You're not going to stimulate blood blood flow. And so if you shunt off blood flow, then you limit your body's ability to respond to and heal things, right? Because like your brain, right? If your brain isn't getting blood, you will die, right? So that's kind of an extreme example, but if a portion of your body isn't receiving blood, it's not going to have the necessary nutrients to function and repair and to whatever. So the idea of immobilization for me is like the worst thing possible, which is why when I went to the ER the day of the injury and they casted up my leg, I came home and took it right off and just continued walking and doing what I could. Jared, what's going on, man? Does the MCL bother you other than not being able to lock out the knee? Really honestly, no. The thing that I had the most trouble with was terminal extension. So completely being able to lock out the knee, that was a big problem for me. Now it's not as bad. So I have been healing, and things are slightly better. You can see my daughter creeping in right here. This is what's going on, girl? Yes. Okay. So yeah, the lockout, terminal extension was a problem. It is still slightly uncomfortable, but it's not like painful. So I've been just trying to continue to try to work with that. And so if you look at my Instagram and you look at some of the videos and things I've been doing, you can see in some of those where I'm not quite locking out the knee entirely on my squats and my deadlifts. And that was a measure of trying to protect the knee and not hurt myself. Rain Smoke agrees with keep it moving, get the blood flow. Yeah. I think blood flow is super important. And so I've been doing things to try to help stimulate blood flow in my leg. I haven't talked about it in a long time, but I have. This is the boomstick from Kabuki Strength, a body tempering device. So I use this on my leg, kind of on the vastus medialis, to try to stimulate blood flow in the area. So I use boomstick. I also have the leopard's claw by Kelly Starrett, which is a scraping device for soft tissue. So they call it IA stim, right? So instrument assisted soft tissue manipulation. So I'll use the scraping device again to try to stimulate some blood flow and draw blood to the area. And then I've mentioned it before. I don't have it sitting with me right here, I don't think. I've also have my TENS unit. So I have a little TENS unit that I hook up, the knee pads in and around the knee, just to kind of pulse and stimulate blood flow as well as stimulate the lymphatic system. Gary, I think I jacked the shoulder by dipping too deeply. Even though I have the tweak, I'm still dipping though. Once a week instead of twice doesn't make it any worse at all. That's good. If you can go through range of motion. Another thing that you can do is simulate a dipping movement, with bands. So you might set up a band, on a pull-up bar and kind of go through range of motion as driving through that band. That might be a way to get similar range of motion, but under less load, and therefore able to kind of go through and stimulate the tissue through that entire range of motion. If you have the slingshot, so Mark Bell's slingshot, the device that kind of goes on your arms and spans across your chest, you may be able to use the slingshot or bands to be able to kind of give you some support while you perform those movements. So still getting range of motion, but lessening load, and so thereby making it a little bit easier and more sustainable for you. Yeah, I totally like the creativity of adjusting to things. And that's kind of like, injuries really suck. And like, there's almost nothing that I hate more than being injured. But injuries are also an opportunity to be able to kind of learn and pivot and adjust. And so, injuries are honestly, they're kind of inevitable. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. And that's irrespective of whether or not you train or, just existing in the world, right? You're going to step out of your car and hit a patch of ice and, do something, right? Like, there's going to be something that's going to injure you somewhere. And I think injuries, especially in light of training, is an opportunity to kind of reassess and readdress how you do things. And it's an opportunity for you to try to find maybe different or creative ways to do things. And that really just helps you learn. I don't enjoy being injured, but I do relish the opportunity to challenge myself and try to think outside the box. I guess I hope that makes sense. It does make easy content for the channel as well. Yeah, right. So, yeah, I mean, Jared, you're right. That's how the channel actually began, was due to injury, right? My bicep tear, and me trying to demonstrate my ability to recover and return back to where I was before the injury. Comes with the territory if you're pushing to improve. Yeah, you're right, Gary. Yeah, certainly if you're trying to push the envelope, sometimes life bites back, So yeah, that's yeah. Anyhow, that's really all that I had for you guys. I just wanted to talk a little bit about my injury and what's going on and kind of what I'm doing. I'm really grateful that if you guys popped in to say hi and chat with me a little bit. I'll have some more stuff coming in the future, some more training videos and things like that. Going forward, I'm going to try to be a little bit more consistent with my release on YouTube, because I've been kind of overcome by travel and family and whatever. So I'll keep working to be a little bit more consistent and some more regular postings. I know that I've said it before, but it's worth repeating. Things that I release aren't always didn't always just happen. So I've released a video last night, for example, that took place back in March. I think that the videos that I'm releasing and what I'm doing in the videos is kind of time agnostic, right? Like, the time that it happened doesn't really matter, because it's more about showing what I was doing or what was happening. And so the thing is, I think it stands alone. Although I do understand that some people get a little annoyed with how my hair is always changing, right? So in one video I have hair, and then in the very next video I don't have hair, and then the video after that I have hair again. And that's just as a byproduct of how I do videos, because I end up shooting way more than I'm capable of releasing. I hope that you guys will continue to tolerate the kind of the back and forth timeline. And then also there's some things that I shoot that I want to get out right away because there's something about it that I really liked, or there's, whatever. So um, I try to leave in the beginning of the video the clip where I mentioned the time frame that it was. So I'll say, hey, this is March 30th, so that you guys can at least have a sense of when that video was shot. But yeah, I haven't found a really great way to crack the code on how to be more in sync with time. But I don't know, maybe I'll figure it out or whatever. Gary, thanks, man. I really do appreciate it. Been around for a long time with the channel, and I really do appreciate the consistent support and checking out videos and all the comments. And you definitely have been one of the most consistent viewers that I have, and so it's become kind of the norm when I do a video, seeing your name pop up in the comment box and things like that. So I do want to say I really do appreciate it, Gary. Thank you very much for all the support that you give the channel, for the last couple of years. It's been awesome. And you said that injuries test your mettle. Yeah, you're right. That's one thing too that's kind of cool about the process, right? Is like you kind of get to see what people are made of, and you get to see what you're made of, because obviously, like, you can do anything when it's easy, then it's not a challenge, it's not difficult, like you can just kind of cruise on and it's cool. But when you hit a wall, do you treat a sticking point like a stopping point? Do you just give up, or do you try to find a way around it? Which again goes to the heart of the channel. And what I always say is, you find an excuse or you find a way. So, how are you going to be as a human being when you hit that sticking point? And it's not just with training, right? Like it's in life in general, because we all have different facets of our life where, you kind of hit a wall or you hit a sticking point on something that you'd like to have happen. And does that mean you just give up on it and cut sling load, or do you try to find a way to work around it? Man, kids are a little rambunctious back there. Okay, so I'll give it a last moment here for those of you that are with me. If you want to drop a comment or have a quick conversation on something, I'll give you a minute to put together a comment. Otherwise, I would look to kind of close this down, because it's already going on a half hour of sitting here kind of blabbing on. But it always does amaze me, the folks that tune in and hang out and drop in and say hi and all that stuff. So it's a really cool way for me to be able to interact with you guys, even if I'm not super consistent with how I do it. I would really like to be able to forecast the lives and say, hey, I'm going to do it at this time every Sunday or whatever. But I have a hard time setting that kind of consistency with my schedule, because very rarely I'm not always in control of what I'm doing and where I am. So Poster says that's why you tune in to hear me blabber on. I appreciate it, man. It's awful nice that you guys are willing to hear me out. My wife often makes fun of me for these videos and things that I do, because she's like, just shut up. You don't need to keep talking. But I just enjoy talking. American Viking, what up, man? Appreciate you stopping in and say hi. I am doing okay. Trying to get over some minor stuff, but staying with it and doing the best I can in the face of it. That's the tester when you hit injuries. Are you tough enough to get over it and improve even further? A lot of folks, as soon as they get an injury, that limits them and they give up. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Oh no, what's going on, dude? Yeah, it's hard, man. When you have an injury, a lot of people give up. But I don't really have a whole lot of quit in me. This is my daughter and her friend are over here playing. So if you're hearing the chatter in the background, that's the kids. Sundays are usually left for playing and hanging out and just kind of relaxing. Okay, that's cool. American Viking, keep your head up, keep killing lifts. You got it, man. I promise. I'll keep doing the best that I can. And we'll see how things kind of progress for me over the next few months. I should have some time and space to really get some good training in, I hope. So I should be able to not have too many interruptions into what I'm doing. And then kind of forecasting out, there hopefully will be some opportunities for me to do some training for the Army, which would have me travel at least around the country. So going into different areas. And so anytime that I do that, I like to try to find a place to go train, or, maybe it'll give me an opportunity to be close to somebody else and do some collaboration stuff. So I'm hoping that I can kind of lay some of that on. There is the potential for some courses, some Army courses, that will put me into kind of the Maryland, Virginia area. And if that's the case, you can bet your bottom dollar that I'm going to reach out to Brian Allsrue and the crew of Neverstate to try to, get back with them and hang out again, because it's been a long time since I've seen those guys, and I would really love to see them again. I hope at some point in time to be able to get up to the Pittsburgh area to go see Joe Satmary and whatever else. So I hope that the Army will help me travel so that I can share time and space with some other people and do some cool stuff. So hopefully stay tuned for that as time goes by. And certainly as I travel, I will make it known that I'm gonna be in a certain area. So if I happen to go somewhere and I'm near your neck of the woods, always feel free to hit me up. It'd be cool to try to meet people and say hi and get a session in or whatever on else. So yeah, appreciate it. Randy, what's going on, man? It's all right, dude. Like I said, I've said it a few times. I could be a lot better about announcing these, but I kind of just do them, ad hoc. So I hope that you guys can tolerate that. Was wrapping down this live session here since we're coming up on a half hour long. But I just really wanted to thank everyone for dropping in to say hello. Means a lot for you guys to continue to check things out. You can help me out with comments. So if you guys have ideas or recommendations or questions, anything that might be that I would have an opportunity to weigh in on, to be able to do something that might help you, let me know. Whether that's form checks or something more specific. I'm always looking for those types of opportunities to be very directed in my video content, to be able to help those of you that check out the videos. So be sure to let me know if there's anything that you think I might be able to weigh in on. All right, I'm gonna close it down, guys. Thanks, Arno. I appreciate that, man. I do appreciate every one of you for jumping in. It's good seeing some of the same names that I see all the time popping up in the chat. So I really do want to thank you guys for this love and the support on the channel. It means a lot. And yeah, remember, guys, no matter what it is you think you can't do, continue to do your training even though you have an MCL tear. You got to get in trained to smite. You're right, Arno. You can find an excuse, you find a way, and I hope that you guys continue to find a way. I wish you all the best of luck and best health and all that stuff, and we'll check you guys in the next video. Peace.